What do you mean?
Would you say it's that?
Yeah.
Oh, I had a completely different idea, actually. Controversial.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to No Drama, Just Movies, and we are back this week with another TV review. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for the content that we produce each and every week in the world of TV and movies. My name is Cameron. You can still make a cure, Kelly Smith, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague here.
You can still squeeze and kill that girl. Um, I'm Phil. I kissed a girl and I liked it. Corwin.
Oh, that's right. Katy Perry would be very happy about that one.
Famous astronaut Katy Perry.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But of course, if you haven't guessed it by now, we are here to review none other than episode 6 of The Last of Us season 2 on HBO. So let's get straight into it.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna kick off by saying this. I obviously we save our IC review scores for the end of this episode, but
Yes.
I will give a slight heads up now that I think that this episode is by far the best episode of the season. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think that it's one of the best episodes, period, across both seasons.
Okay.
And it, for me, very much so answered a very specific burning question that I think I had in my mind that at times I didn't want to answer, I haven't wanted to answer, and I've been scared to answer. Um, However, I think it has answered it for me, and it's both fortunate and unfortunate, and I will get to that. But I will leave that
Oh,
carrot
get to
dangling.
that now.
I mean, I want to
Can
hear
we
your
tackle that now?
I want to hear your initial thoughts first. So
Oh,
go for it.
I'm totally with you on this one. I think it was one of the most amazing, like, best episodes. I don't know of all seasons of both seasons, but definitely, yeah, one of this season, maybe co-best episode. I
Yeah,
will speak of
yeah,
that a
yeah.
little bit later, maybe as well. You first.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? When obviously I try not to get too much into toxic fandom, and sometimes I think it's tough, and you don't mean to be toxic when a medium or a story just touches you in a way that you hold near and dear, and you get emotionally invested. We're all obviously, we all do that. We
Mhm.
all unfortunately we're all guilty of that. I think for me, a question that I had specifically after playing The Last of Us 2, the game, and I was someone who very much felt like not only was it not the story that I wanted selfishly, obviously it's not my story to tell, but not only was it not the story me just as a fan wanted,
Yeah.
but it also wasn't the story that I think was as even the story they went was even as thrilling or exciting. But I think one of the questions that I did ask myself, and I've wanted to answer it, and I've tried to give myself patience, especially now seeing season 2 adapting obviously part of the second game, is like, what is the heart of The Last of Us? Like,
Mhm.
what is The Last of Us? Especially moving on to now a part where one of the main characters isn't there, that being Joel. And I think this episode truly for me, like, it reminded me and I think answered my question. I think the heart of The Last of Us is the relationship between Joel and Ellie.
Mhm.
And the good thing about that is that, well, in this episode, we get to see that. We get to see once again Joel and Ellie. And also, like, obviously, Neil Druckmann directed this episode, which was very nice to see. And I feel like this episode was finally one of the episodes where they actually did a little bit of adaptation. And what I mean by that is actually doing some stuff that weren't in the game.
Okay.
That I really appreciate because we got more of that in the first season and we got more of it here. But it just more so added to that dynamic that I think the heart and soul of The Last of Us is the relationship between Joel and Ellie. And I think that in this, I felt Joel's presence, obviously not being there, the previous episodes. And I think this episode is it's a catch 22. It makes you feel the gigantic hole that that character leaves, but also it reminds you how great that character is with Ellie. And so it's bittersweet for me. It really is because it does make me go, damn, like sometimes, I was having this conversation quickly. Last thing I'll say, I was having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and I was saying, I wonder what things would have looked like if, and they wouldn't have done it, but if in another timeline, let's say very Marvel 616, if in another timeline, Neil and Craig Mazin, they decided to do a completely different story for The Last of Us season 2 and completely not follow the story of the game, how that could have looked like, the opportunity that could have presented, and potentially what that could have offered. We'll never get it.
We'll
But
never know.
yep, over to you.
Maybe in another universe. No, because you brought up the relationship between Joel and Ellie. So getting a little bit more into the episode, like I really, really enjoyed the moments between them. Just like, because we flip like from birthday to birthday, and just to what Joel gets for her. Just that part of that is like how their relationship works, and how he treats her more and more like his daughter, and kind of finds these really like lovely presents for her, and like presents that he knows will make her happy. So it's not just here's a pair of socks or something. It's like he actually builds the guitar, like renovates the guitar. Is that what you call it?
Bit of both, yeah.
And then that awesome space scene, when he takes it to the museum in the space capsule. Those were beautiful moments between them. What worked for me, I think, for this episode, and where the tension came from for me, was that thought in the back of my mind of something happened between them to like tear them apart. Because that's how we meet them at the beginning of the season, right? So what is it? I know we're going to find out in this episode what happened, but what is it going to be? And that kind of kept me looking at each of these moments between them, and thinking, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? And yeah, I just love as well, like Ellie and Bella Ramsey, shout out again, just how adorable she is at times. How innocent really Ellie, or used to be. That moment with the cake where she like stuffs the cake in her mouth before Joel can even turn around. Or even that moment with the space capsule, where she's just got this amazing, like this lovely smile on her face. She imagines the thing lifting off. And just seeing that, and like remembering what she did in that last episode at the end of that, and just how far she's gone, and not in a good way. This was kind of weird, but wonderful and weird to see as well.
That's the thing. Like, I agree, because obviously, like, you in the back of your mind, that, well, clearly, like, the event that's caused the rift is the reveal of obviously what happened that night with the Fireflies. And the way that I think...
wait a minute, what?
What do you mean?
Would you say it's that?
Yeah.
Oh, I had a completely different idea, actually. Controversial. You think
Really?
Because he killed the Fireflies.
That is the event. That's the reason why they have the rift. Like, it's basically, or him revealing that is the real or at least the whole idea that she knows, because once obviously Joel kills Eugene, and she sees that she's already has her suspicions at that point. That whole act obviously confirms to her that what he did that night, he lied to her that night. But that's the main, because I mean, when you're going into the second game, for example, like that's the thing you're waiting for. Like, that at some point is going to get revealed, and that's what's going to cause the rift. And so when this season started, and they are having, and they're apart, like, to me and up to this episode, it's like, clearly it's because it's that issue right there. Because why would you think it was something different?
See, I read it because I think it doesn't happen until he basically promises her, I'm going to let this guy live, and we're going to take it home so he can, talk to his wife one more time. And then as soon as she's gone, he kills him. It's because he betrayed that trust. He betrayed that promise that he gave to her. I think that's the point. Not even that he killed him. It's
Hmm.
just she knew that he had to die at some point because he was infected and there was nothing else to do, right? But the fact that Joel said, "I give you my word, I'm not going to kill him," and then immediately went and killed him, I think that betrayal is the thing that tore them apart.
See, the thing is, I don't disagree with that, but she says literally on the porch scene, it was the same look, and it's the same dialogue. I promise, like the exact same dialogue. And she says there on the porch, like it was the same look, and then I knew. Like as soon as you told me what you said after killing Eugene, I knew. I immediately knew. For fuck's sake, like my suspicions were correct about what happened that night. And so I don't disagree with you, but
Mm.
it's the fact that she knows about that confirms exactly what happened. And then that leads to that phenomenal porch scene, which is just
Yeah.
everything. Like, and obviously, like it's pretty much tit for tat, identical to the game again. And who's complaining? Like, it's fantastic scene, and it's interesting sometimes watching the comparisons or the side by side of the scene in the game and the scene in the show, and it's literally identical. But like, just tremendous stuff, and it's just tough for me, man. I think it's because like I'm still along for this ride. I really am, and obviously we had some confirmation. I think from the actress who plays Abby. I think her name is it
Caitlin
Caitlin?
Dever? Caitlin Dever.
I thought it was Denver, but yeah, I think Denver might be correct, but definitely Caitlin. But she was saying or someone else is saying that obviously season two is or season three is very much so going to be the Abby show, which
Mm.
makes sense because that's following essentially the blueprint of the game. But so it'll be interesting, maybe not being with Abby for a while until, and obviously Craig Mazin literally reported the other day that it looks like they're eyeing a season four, and that they'll need a season
Ooh.
four to be able to finish
Well, start on
the
season three first, maybe.
yeah, that is
Get
true. But I
that
think that
one
yeah,
done.
with how much story they have left, yeah, it couldn't, especially where this season has only 7 episodes. Yeah, they wouldn't have been able to finish the game
Mm.
in another 7 episodes. Not at all. There's still a lot to cover. But yeah, it just sucks. I think it just sucks for me in a way because it's still like I wanted Joel and Ellie together, and
Yes.
I'm trying not to be like the bitter fan, but the episodes like this just remind me of like oh them together in that story, but. I still do give leeway because I think the show has done at times more of an interesting or taken a more interesting approach to laying out the story of The Last of Us Part Two, which I think I didn't as enjoy as much in the game, but I have enjoyed a bit more in the show. And so I am very much so open. I think I am very much so looking forward to next week's season finale, well, this week's, because yeah, because I'm intrigued to see. Obviously, we see at the end of this episode, Ellie, excuse me, heading back to the theater, and
Mm.
obviously, for anyone who's played the game, you know what's about to happen here. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what they tell, what they do, and where they leave off specifically, especially as you well alluded to, they haven't even filmed season three yet, which they need to film
Oh.
season three and four back to back. But that's another thing. But yeah. But anything else that you want to add regarding this episode?
Um, I do want to quickly talk about go right back to the beginning
Yeah.
of the episode because we get a glimpse into like Joel's family and how he grew up and the dad, and I kind of loved that that opening scene and just how the dad like explains like I made mistakes and I'm not always the best father, but I hope you're not making the same mistakes, and just how this cycle of abuse, I guess, can stop. Well, not stop, but get less and less with each generation, and how that idea comes back. I like that there was a moment, for example, when Ellie wants to move into the garage and she takes the mattress, and Joel comes and like stops her, and at the beginning he's like, "No, you're not going to do that." But then he takes like a moment. I think he just takes a second and then goes, "Okay, um, let's go. You can move into the garage." But I think in that moment he remembers his dad, and he makes a conscious decision to be different, to be better than his father. And just a speech as well he gives on that porch where he says like, the same thing. I hope one day you'll
Mm-hmm.
do better than me. And I just love that, first of all, that through line, but also that thought and like how much we get of Joel's upbringing and what he's all about from
Yeah.
that moment at the beginning. It's just, yeah, really good writing.
No,
Well
it
done,
is. It
guys.
is really good. I'm glad that you brought that up actually, because that then leads up my very final thought, which is as I was alluding to or saying about it in the beginning of this review, the adaptation side of things. And what I mean by that is doing things or expanding on things or adding new things that we didn't get in the game. And I feel like they did much more of that in the first season. For example, obviously the iconic Bill and Frank episode. Not much in this season, which is unfortunate. But I feel like this episode was the closest we came to that. Specifically, the whole Eugene element. Because obviously in the game we never meet Eugene, but it was nice to have that whole sequence and how that sequence then tied in to obviously the juxtaposition there. Obviously, with it being so directly tied to, you know, the promise that Joel made that he was telling the truth that night when he killed the Fireflies. But obviously in the game that's not there. Like that whole sequence with Eugene isn't there, and so it's kind of like, he reveals the secret to her, and that causes the rift for many years, and then it's like, for fuck's sake, you know what I mean? But or for F's sake, might have to blurt that out. But uh, yeah,
We'll be fine.
but
No grown ups here.
yeah, but yeah, I thought it was just great, a great way of adaptation, just adding something in there. And that moment when Joel is telling Gail, what he wants her to hear, and then Ellie, excuse me, just cuts him off and says the truth, and it's like, oh gosh, what a moment! I mean, I'm gonna miss this pairing, and if this is obviously the
Yeah.
last time, and it may be the last time that we get them in an episode together, or get them in this much of an episode together in a flashback. If this is the last time, then all I can say is thank you, and please do a prequel. But that's for another time. That's for another time. In when Neil Druckmann has some time, down there at Naughty Dog. But any final thoughts before we go to our IC review score?
Yeah, beautiful performances, especially that porch scene. It was, yeah, really well done. And yeah, let us know if you know or guess what the rift was, because I'm still not sure. If it was one or both, maybe all of it combined. Yeah.
Yeah, Neil does talk about that actually. There are some interviews where he talks about that. So definitely have a look. Yeah,
Mystery
good.
solved.
Yeah, but by that being said, let's go to our IC review scores where we give our special IC review scores out of 10 for the episode of The Last of Us, or this episode of The Last of Us. I will go first. It's easy. This is a 10 out of 10. 10 ICs out of 10 for this episode. It was easy, very easy to score. It's tremendous. Me saying any more right now would just be hurtful. It would just be hurtful. It's tremendous. 10 ICs out of 10 for me for this episode. Best of the season.
Yeah, for me as well. 10 out of 10 ICs. I think it was my, I said co-favorite episode because it was my favorite non-violent episode. Obviously, we had that one episode where everything happens and it's very violent and it's awesome. But this was just like the Bill and Frank episode, very infected light. And it was just, yeah, still delivered just for that relationship between the two. 10 out of 10.
I agree. So that will do it for our review of The Last of Us episode 6, season 2, that is on HBO. Once again, we are No Drama, Just Movies. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like, comment, share, drop down in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts on this episode and what your predictions are for the season finale. I can't believe we're already here for the season finale on Sunday. Once again, we are No Drama, Just Movies. My name is Cameron. You can still make a cure, Kelly Smith, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague here.
I'm Phil. I kissed a girl and I liked it.
Oh, that's right, Katy Perry. Thank you very much for the lovely wisdom there. Once again, we are No Drama, Just Movies. Thank you very much for checking out our review today, guys, and we will see you very, very soon. Take care, guys.
Bye.